Yeah, and thank you everyone for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here and to be here in person. And to all of you who are joining us online, please do everything you can to come here next year. Honestly, this is a little paradise. So big thanks to the organizers, to Intex, to Stanisław, to Tanya, Aliona, Irina, everyone who is making this place special, as well as all of you here. And to my two interpreters, I have Dimitri and Anya, who are interpreting my talk now into Russian and into Ukrainian. Honestly, I'm deeply honored. I'm deeply touched that it's happening. So thank you so much. So as Tanya mentioned, I'm Polish. And yes, I had a good flight. Thank you very much. And if you haven't asked me about it, I mean, you're already too late. But I used to work, as Tanya mentioned, for lots of like top agencies, top LSPs, representing all their marketing activities globally. And now I work for, actually since this year, I started to work for a great marketing agency based in London. And my first project was COVID. So I was super lucky to actually work, of course, on a COVID campaign. And you? Sorry? It is me. And you see the mushrooms, because I know that one of many things that we share with Ukrainians is, of course, the love for mushrooms. I wouldn't recommend eating those ones, but I think we need to be open-minded anyway. So, but before I go any further, I have a question for you. Who is here tired of talking about COVID and COVID it out? Oh, guys, I thought no one would say that, so I thought I already said like, oh, you were so polite, but you know. Well, it didn't happen. I was not prepared for that possibility. Anyway, I actually have to tell you, I love COVID. I know it's very unpopular, but I think it's one of the most creative things that happen in marketing for us. And I think, Irina, you are going to agree with me. Thank you for showing me. So if I wanted to summarize it in three main things that all of you seen, so this is just to summarize that. First of all, there were so many campaigns focused on community. So charity and social content, also content given for free. Of course, you know, usually that was a content prepared before, but it really helped with increasing the visibility. Sustainability. On one side, everyone was talking about well-being, mental health, also knowing that COVID would end at some point, so they had to have those campaigns being continued. But at the same time, we produced lots of plastic during this whole time. And finally, creativity. I think this is one of the best things that we could all witness during COVID in marketing campaigns. Online experiences that we've never joined before, new channels that everybody was starting to learn, but also real-time marketing. And real-time marketing, I think, is now on steroids. And we've seen it before. Usually it's linked with some current event. It has to be significant enough for everyone to notice. And then companies create campaigns based on that and get lots of visibility, especially in media. This is one that you might remember. When Brad and Angelina broke up, immediately Norwegian started to promote flights to LA. And then this is a Polish campaign. Have you ever heard about it? Eat apples against Putin. Do you remember this one? So when the conflict in I thought that you might have known it. So when the conflict in Ukraine started, Poland was actually against everything that was happening. And because of that, we were punished by an embargo. So Polish produce was not exported to Russia. And some of the groups of producers that were punished the most were Polish apples. 55% of Polish exported apples were actually going to Russia. So the entire country, in the act of solidarity, started to eat apples. So here you see our ex-prime minister having apples, you know, just on television. Everyone posting eating apples on social media. And some of the companies who actually made even more business with that, and this is shocking, cider. Like in Poland, of course, you know, vodka, beer, mead, like all kinds of alcohol. We actually we haven't used drinking cider. Cider only started to be popular thanks to this action against Putin because it was eat apple and drink apple. And that company, with almost no budget, became very, very popular. But now, of course, thanks to COVID, we had so many of those amazing campaigns. All the Ukrainians here, have you seen this one? I think this is really clever. It was actually a Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine, using famous pieces of art to talk about safety measures. I thought it was pretty clever. And of course, many others. Maybe you've seen some of those. Le Whooper de la quarantaine. So that's the Burger King in Paris. And then the Australian gyms talking about flattening the curve after COVID and signing up for a gym. And of course, lots of famous brands who were distancing their logos. Even Nike had "Just Don't Do It." That was their logo for a while. Other things that were happening, I think I love this one. For Mum's Day in the UK, there were cards saying, "I don't care if everyone is doing it. You are not everyone. Stay home." Why? Because I said so. That's why. So mom, stay home. Don't invite guests. Wash hands and be safe. And a few other things. So those are, I thought it was a pretty clever email campaign with a company that makes shirts. And of course, giving different advice how to dress for a conference call. And this is actually one of the main themes of the whole COVID marketing was really more humor, less serious, because how to be serious if everybody you talk with is in their pajamas? So you really have to get down a notch. And a few amazing things that happen leading through change. Have you seen those webinars? No? I really recommend that you take a look. Those were webinars created by Salesforce. And that's why I say everybody always recommends to do a webinar until Salesforce started to do webinars. Because they invite Metallica, Sheryl Crow, CEO of Starbucks is talking how they deal with COVID. It's impossible to beat it. But honestly, I totally recommend to watch it. It's amazing. And then the last one is actually that became famous thanks to an article in New York Times. Airbnb, as you know, as many of our other companies in the hospitality business, started to terminate lots of their employees. So they actually fired 1/3 of all the employees. And the only business that was thriving on the Airbnb side was experiences. Have you heard about those? Those were absolutely sold out. Actually, one of the top ones that you were not able to even join was a guy walking in Chernobyl and with stray dogs, and that was an Airbnb experience. But only 8 people at the time could join online. This one is a guy walking in a completely empty Prague at night with a plague mask and talking about plague. So pretty amazing. But this one is actually my favorite, and it was only, I would say, published 2 weeks ago. Have you seen it? So this is for all the classical music lovers here. I hope that the sound will be there. Oh, Aliona. No sound. So I know that you all know the sound. This is Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky. And there were 27 ballet, the most amazing ballet dancers around the world performing in their baths. And it's really beautiful. You should watch it later. Okay, we might have a chance. Okay, guys, at least the visual is great. Okay. Okay, I'm going to, let's stop it now, unless you really want to see it. Visual is great, let's move on. But really, this is the type of experiences that suddenly were being created around the world, absolutely creative, and that we've never seen before. And if you missed it this time, really, that's actually quite a big loss. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So now the question is, because that's the main topic of this talk, is, so what are we doing next? Because everything has changed, and I really believe that it changed for the better. And there was a survey just a few months ago, before COVID, that was done by Gala, by Elia, by UTIC, and they were asking different respondents what they think, of course in the localization industry, which channels, in their opinion, are the best performing. And they cited SEO, client industry events, Google AdWords, LinkedIn, and we know that many of those things actually are not valid anymore. I would say, based on my experience also working on the marketing agency side, that LinkedIn, it's over. Promoting things on LinkedIn is very expensive, but at the same time, LinkedIn creates so many fake profiles, or they're done automatically. For example, you say like, oh, there are so many jobs. Actually, many of those jobs are created automatically. I would say that some of those channels are actually over. and I see it day after day. Print, outdoor, TV advertising. Don't waste your money on that, because this is gone. And so what's left? So of course, events are still there. And thank you guys for still doing this against all odds. So before COVID, I would say that one of the best ideas that I had ever doing any of those big events was to localize content. So localize really the theme. This is Lockward in Warsaw. I'm based in Warsaw, so of course I organized a tour in the city. I did the Polish theme. We gave some Polish tea set as a gift. I mean, we played that to an end, extent. And this is really what gives you the best visibility. So I really recommend to play that card wherever you go abroad. And of course, million different organizations. So I joined all of those, and I was going to all different events, but also because of a very specific reason. I used to work for Donnelly, or our Donnelly before, $12 billion company, so huge. But we were a very, very tiny department there, and we knew that at some point we wanted to be acquired. But we didn't want to spend too much money on Gala and Lockward and all those different places. So mostly we were spending money on entertaining our clients, but entertaining them so well that we would have a private lounge at Roland Garros and send them tennis balls signed by Nadal or whoever. But no money, of course, for Gala, Lockward, and all those things. So I was designated person to just go there by myself and make sure that everybody knows me, so then someone would acquire us. And that's why I joined all those things. I did all the call for papers. And I was elected to different boards, and we were acquired by SDL. So this is one of the many, many things that those events can offer. But now, what are the very good ideas that we have at this moment? So I mentioned that I work for a marketing agency based in London. We're actually sending to our clients tea sets, sometimes also gin and tonic, and we invite them for a nice tea party. It's super, super successful. So many clients are joining. This is really a very good idea that I just wanted to give you for free. We also have some clients in Switzerland. So for those, we actually send them picnics. We do a webinar with a background showing Swiss mountains. And we also recently invited a cow. Have you heard about this recent craze? They're actually different farms that can rent an animal for a webinar. So we actually had, and the idea was that, of course, we wanted to grow that account. So first we did very, very few people joined the first one, but of course a week later everybody wanted to join, and after that everybody was joining with their children. So that's how we actually grew an account quite significantly in Switzerland. Also, cool ideas. Of course, everybody loves gifts. We are also sending a flower pots, and I adapted that specifically for you. It's with some message when you can talk about the right soil and pots, so the technology, sunlight expertise, hiring a gardener, PM, and of course you need to send a plant that almost never dies. Then meet for a coffee. This is what we used to do at Donnelly at SDL, sending Starbucks cards, of course playing with the theme of Italian coffee, American coffee, Turkish coffee, and all kinds of different coffees. But also you can twist it with the type of coffee, sweetener, or brewing expertise and match it with different services that you offer. And of course, this type of campaigns works especially now because we're all bored with the usual. So next one, email marketing. That's the channel that actually, everybody says email marketing is dead, but it's not. And let me tell you why. My company actually works, we have email marketing technology and we also send emails. We actually work with the biggest banks and asset management firms. And this year, they have to move all their marketing budget from all the lavish events, from the beautiful print, meeting nice restaurants, to actually email. And many of them were used to send an email once per month. Now they're sending that even 3 times per week. And all the receivers are people who are what is called high net worth or ultra net worth individuals. So those who have 1 million, 5 million, or 30 million in their financial assets. So that's why this actually proves that email marketing is still the customer acquisition channel #1. So this is actually the report that you can read. It's on our website. So where you can, I co-authored that, so very, very proud. It actually shows different trends of the email marketing during COVID. And what's actually crazy about it, that not only everybody started to send emails, as I mentioned, from once per month to 3 times per week, and it's also because they very often, they wrote something at night, Trump tweeted something in the evening, they had to redo all the content in the morning. The marketing teams were working almost nonstop, finishing at midnight, starting at 6 a.m. because of the dynamically changing situation, and sending those emails. And what's actually also interesting during this whole time, that even if they were sending more emails, there were less opt-outs, less people who were unsubscribing, less bounce backs, and also we could see, and we see it in our data, people were working nonstop. We see emails being opened from 4 a.m. in the morning until midnight. And you can also see when they're open on mobile or when they're open on desktop, and you can clearly see like the entire French population is now going to have a breakfast because now they're on mobile, and then they're going to have lunch because they're on mobile. It's amazing to see that. So it's really hard proof that people were working nonstop during COVID. So email marketing isn't dead, but bad practices are. And just a few cool facts about email marketing, just to convince you even more that this is still the #1 acquisition tool. $1 or €1 spent on email marketing brings back almost 40 euros. More conversion, 66% more conversion than any other channel, 40% more effective than social media. And this is because when you open your Facebook, there are already 1,000 messages waiting for you. So you see only 2% of whatever someone intended you to see, 2%. But over 90% of the email that should end in your mailbox ends in your mailbox. Also, the value, 3 times higher than social media. And finally, 72% of people prefer to use all the receive all the promotional content through email. And this is because it's just a better customer experience. Because, you might call them, send them an SMS, contact them on LinkedIn. But then when they need to find who was contacting them, they don't know where to look. And in email, they can actually filter that. And of course, they're paid to check their email, their work email. They're not paid to check their LinkedIn. So a few email marketing tips based on my experience also working for the marketing agency. Personalization, that's super important because that actually shows that you care about your reader. And here, just a little something. I made it this morning. Let me see. Who's that? Oh, that's for Irina, who's interpreting there. Okay. This one is for you. Okay, I have to admit I had more chocolates, but I ate them. What else? Oh, we have here for Leo for making it here from the States. Oh, here. And you see, so the first row is getting, Tanyushka. Okay. Okay, the rest we'll share, fairly between everyone. So personalization. Personalization, very, very important. So let me show you how it works. I know that you cannot even see it from there. So let me offer you something valuable that you can actually read after the conference. So you probably know the localization maturity model. Everything in the world has a maturity model, including personalization. It starts with manual. So for example, after the conference, you copy the text, you send it to everyone. Of course, it takes so much time, it's not personalized enough. Then you start using some technology and you start adapting. You are still sending the same email, but you just change the first name. This is static. You are actually losing money if you do this. Then you go a bit further up when you actually start to segment your list. You send something different to HR managers, maybe something different to a legal department. That's already getting better. And then further you go, and I can actually show you that later when you can actually see it. Further you go, you actually have more impact on your revenue. You can orchestrate all the experience between the email and different preference things that people did on our forms that they fill out online. And basically, the idea is that everything you do online with a brand, all the touch points, is a simultaneous experience. And in order to do that, of course, you have to have additional technology who will help you with that digital footprint. And that's the orchestration. Of course, it's not perfect because you've seen it probably. You go to Sicily and you come back and you still get ads about the hotels in Sicily. So it's not perfect, but it's getting there. Also, maybe you cannot read all that text, but basically what it is, and this is what you should start doing, and this was a big breakthrough for us at Donnelly Language Solutions, because we used to send exactly the same message to everyone, and we were really, we would spend so much time writing this perfect email, and then realizing that basically nobody was engaged because it was really to no one. So then we started to do research related to buyer personas, so those people who buy from us. And in localization, we have lots of buyer personas, but those are maybe two most important ones. Lone wolf localizers. I'm sure that you used to work with those. So those are people who are extremely interested in translation. Maybe they're linguists, they studied language, they traveled, or they're actually interested by that. So if you send them an email about, we were thinking about this term, but then we decided maybe this term, they would be super, super excited about it. And also their goal is to create localization as a separate function within their organization. So they are going to do everything in order to create that and maybe create a new department. So of course it's a pleasure to work with those guys. But then there's ad hoc localizers. So people who actually have a different job, but someone told them like, oh, by the way, we also need to translate it. Usually it's at the end of the whole process, and I'm sure you know those people. They're absolutely not interested if you start to send them different emails saying like, oh, we were thinking this word, that word. They will say like, please don't ask me, just do it, okay? Just translate it and just send me good quality. So that's why your message and your approach to those people would be, of course, different. Messaging. So a few things that I also know, thanks to the fact that I work for this agency. Your text, we all know that you should be super short. But did you know that you have to put the most important thing in your email at the left top corner? So don't waste your time on like, oh, thank you, I hope you had a nice flight, and just to the point, left top corner. Otherwise, you were wasting already the opportunity to communicate. Don't use too many links, 2 max, in the text, not in the image. And also, it doesn't make any sense to typeset your message or make it beautiful, because it only gives you 1% better conversion. So it's not worth it. It's actually better to send a simple message in a simple branding. Another one, winning email subject lines. So let me summarize you what you can see on this slide. So you need to work with some of the psychological principles. One of them is fear of missing out. So for example, you write things like, you forgot to download the report, or you are missing some important insights. And I've seen, for example, when I was sending a normal email with COVID insights, 10% open rate. You forgot to download the report, 69 open rate. So really recommend it. Curiosity, things like, did you know, a surprise for you. Greed, which is 10% discount. Laziness, 10 top tips, because that's easier. You just download 10 top tips and you are done. Pain point, such as stop retranslating your text 1,000,000 times. Retargeting, things like, oh, you forgot to do this and that. Personal, Sabina, open this email. And straightforward, hey. Also, some winning keywords, actually, summer, weekend, wonderful, congratulations, and celebrations, invitation for drinks, 100% open rates. And 64 better open rates if you use an emoji. So definitely, things are changing. But nothing is going to work without the tip number 3, but of course, this is the most boring one. Automation and analytics, because with all this effort that you put into that program and writing those perfect messages, you need to see the conversion, you need to see that engagement, especially that right now, what we say, in order to reach out to your customer, you not only have to speak with or meet with them 3 times as in the past, you have to meet or speak with them 12 to 16 times before they make a decision. And because there are so many people involved in that process, especially in the B2B, that's why you have to work with some kind of automation. And just a few cool technologies that you can see here. Conversica, you maybe heard about it. It's an email marketing tool that basically sends emails on your behalf to unlimited number of people, unlimited number of messages, any language you want. and people don't know it's a machine conversing with them. So for example, you choose a nice person, Sally from California is like one of the winners, and people speak with her, engage, want to meet or whatever, they have a conversation, not knowing that she's a robot. Sixth Sense, another cool technology. Instead of looking for your potential buyers, you can invest in Sixth Sense. It costs around $36,000. And Sixth Sense is going to tell you that this specific department in this country right now is looking for translation. So potentially there is an RFP coming. And SalesNash. It's actually a Ukrainian company that helps you find leads. Okay, so Irina asked me to talk about SEO. I think we have a few minutes for this one. So SEO, why it's important? There are two ways of how you can see SEO working. The first one is when you do a branded search, for example, you look for Nike, you are going to see all those different elements on the page. There is a automatically created knowledge panel on the left with their Wikipedia profile, local suppliers, so you can know where you can buy Nike shoes, news carousel, and organic, etc., etc. So this is, of course, possible when you have a brand that is visible in all those places. One thing that you have to make sure is, of course, to update your Google profile. But then there's organic search. So this is non-branded. For example, if you want someone to find you when they're typing SEO or translation or transcreation in Ukraine, you have to look at the page and see what is there available. This is, for any one of you, you can just go there and see what are the search options. So you could be under images, under, of course, text or news, different ads, which are at the top, organic position, which are all those companies who have a higher ranking, organic position 0, questions, and that's actually important because if you are not sure what to write on your page, go to the questions and see what people are looking for. Those are the most typical questions people ask. And finally, organic position 2, 3, etc., etc. So this really can help you think about what you should write and how you should phrase your text on your page. Then there is, of course, keyword research. And there are lots of technologies who can help you with that. So how it works, it actually works with bidding. So every day you should go to that, or someone in your team should go to that page and see how much they should bid for each of the words. And one thing that it's important, and we all learn that, you should not use the words that you use, such as LSP, DTP, that nobody understands, or maybe even transcreation, but rather the words that people understand. So maybe, I don't know, glossary or whatever, the simple things. And now, basic SEO principles, just put in one page together. So on one side, there are so many changes that Google is making every month, every day, every minute. There are different changes to the algorithms. And now there's actually a big change, which is moving from keywords to experience. And this is really crucial because your website is not anymore a brochure where you can put all the keywords and all the pictures and think like, oh yeah, I'm going to go up in ranking. No, now it's about the experience that every user is going to get. It's a huge change. It's actually coming in 2021. So that's why you have to include a map, you have to help the user, you have to help the searcher. And what's interesting about helping a searcher, you should also formulate your text as a question, such as, how do I need to translate into Ukrainian? Instead of just saying translation into Ukrainian. Make it unique, valuable, and engaging, also because of that fact, but also because you are punished for every duplicated content. So this is very important. If you create different pages, you have to make sure that you don't duplicate the content, because then you go down in the ranking. Also, validate your business on Google. You might not even know, but you were on Google already. So if someone puts, the translation in Dnipro, I believe that this company is going to be up, but Google is going to assume what are your opening hours and what is your telephone number. You need to check that because things change, and maybe even during these times you are using a different number. So definitely you always need to make sure that your business is updated on Google. Of course, check competitors' pages, and that's important because you might think that you have a great keyword such as COVID translation. But now everybody is talking about COVID translations. You are now competing against BBC talking about COVID translations. So check really what everybody else is using, otherwise they might not find you. And the last one, of course, use Google Analytics to see the results of your of your campaigns. And things not to do. Do not auto-generate content. So all the machine-generated content sounds great, but actually Google penalizes you for all the mistakes, all the language mistakes. So that actually might be one of the things that would get you down in the ranking. Do not duplicate content. Do not make a website look like a brochure, because that's not a good experience. Do not deceive users. So there's just those many, many things that we need to avoid. Otherwise, we'll be penalized. So that's the SEO. I hope, Irina, you are happy with this overview. And now, the last part, social media. So I mentioned already that social media sounds like a great idea. And there was, of course, all those talks that now email marketing is dead. Now everything is moving to social media. I would say it's not true, also because all the pages, and we all know that, they all try to make you pay for the ads. So that's why everything that you post there and that was visible before, it's now pushed out from your wall, and you stop seeing it. And I can see that also as I'm very active in a Polish, in a Warsaw city group. We have over 55,000 people who are our followers, and we can see that our messages used to go to everyone. And now there's really a tiny, tiny percentage of people who are getting our messages, because Facebook specifically cuts this outreach. So that's why you need to pay in order to reach out to your base. And I would say that days of LinkedIn and Facebook, unfortunately, are over. And those are the last moments when you can use those channels with, and actually spend money on the ads. Ads are very expensive, and I would say they don't bring that much revenue. But one thing that you should be doing on LinkedIn is to work on your profile. And actually, before, I know that maybe some of you noticed that I've been looking at your LinkedIn profile. I actually calculated how many people we have as followers. And there are lots of people who are not using LinkedIn. I know that there are lots of students with us. So a recommendation for you, please create a LinkedIn profile, because almost half of us here don't even have a LinkedIn profile. And this is the number one channel. Actually, someone who speaks with you needs to see how you look, needs to check your profile. I also selected a few people who have the best connections, and Oleg, you are number one, followed by me, and then Alexandra. I believe that you have also the third highest number, but because I don't see how many followers because you actually covered that section, but we have almost 300 people in common, you have to have a strong profile. Okay, so you approved. So everyone, please start adding each other, because after this conference, at least you are going to have 67 more connections. But don't worry, everything is going to get better, and that's why I think that really with COVID, we're all going to learn and make our messages more personalized, and really understand what our audience is doing. So that's why I wish you all the best and all the success in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabina. And before we are switching to the questions and answers session, we have some surprise. We have downloaded the video with the Swan Lake.
Oh,
and
great!
While you are thinking about the questions, we are just watching this perfect video.
I knew that everyone in Ukraine would actually appreciate a nice ballet, so this is for you.
Thank you, Sabina, for your brilliant keynote speech. I was sure it will be really brilliant. So, do we have questions in the audience?
I have a lot of questions, so
Yeah.
but I pick just one. You told that someone says email marketing is dead. I don't agree. It's alive, and it's more than alive. It's too active now, and I believe that everybody saw your presentation somehow, because all they are using those tips. Hey, Irina, there's 10 tips for you. Don't miss, and just
Yes,
you
I was
have
sending those emails.
yeah. You have 10% off, so just buy or subscribe and so on. I believe that users are too overloaded now at the COVID time. So what would you recommend to marketing people just to be more maybe not so aggressive with the email marketing, and just to maybe to think about how to be closer to your reader, to your user?
Thank you. This is exactly where personalization comes in. So if you send the same message to everyone, even if it's a brilliant message, and even if you said like you have to 10 tips and all those things, what you can see very quickly, people are going to start unsubscribe. But when you actually create that message that is very targeted for that specific audience, I assure you, you are going to see better results. And let me give you an example. As you maybe know, SDL and also Donnelly is specialized in regulated translations. So we work with compliance, regulatory, etc. We identified that there's a group called corporate investigators who work with those big companies, and they basically listen to your messages, to read your emails, and they check if you don't do any inside trading or anything like that. So those people actually need machine translation, and all different services that we can offer. So what we've done, we identified 200 companies that have those corporate investigators, that specific buyer persona. We identified what those people need, which is security, compliance, all those different things. The translation has to be absolutely perfect, so it has to be done by a human. And we wrote them a message saying, as a corporate investigator, you need this, this, and this. We had 100% open rate out of 200 people, and within a week, we got the first job with a Danish bank. And of course, it was only growing from there. So I would recommend, of course, focusing on this type of very, very targeted messages, because then you show that you care about them, and you can see, this is what the statistics show, it shows higher conversion. So you are, instead of wasting your money and sending the thing to everyone and basically blocking yourself from that outreach, you increase that outreach. The second idea is to also remember that email is only an email, it's only an email. So you also have other channels to talk with that person, and that's why we are combining that with those offline and online experiences. So when I was writing emails to lawyers and promoting our legal translation, 0% open rate. But when we were saying like invite for drinks, suddenly 100% open rate, and everybody saying like, oh, sorry, I cannot come, but can I send a friend? No, or can I come next time? So that's why we are now sending like to the Swiss bank, that I'm sure you know a few Swiss banks, so this is one of them. So we were saying like, you are invited to lunch. So of course, everybody opens, and then there's like, tell us what you would like to eat. And by the way, there's a secret guest. Of course, that's the cow, right? And then they join. So that's what I would say. And of course, aggressive marketing is, people are going to unsubscribe very quickly. So absolutely, you are absolutely right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I've checked our emails and Facebook page and YouTube. There are no questions for now, because I believe people are just realizing and analyzing all you just told. And guys, if you have more questions,
Thank you. My name is Igor. Thank you, Sabina. Thank you, Sabina, for such a bright presentation. It was really a great pleasure to look and hear. And well, my question is we all know that translation is interconnected with all other industries even more than any other industry, because people in all over the world are doing the same thing or the same type of thing, and they need communication between them. So that's why translation connects all the industries. So my question, after post-COVID era, have you investigated how the other industries changed and how these changes might affect the translation? Because, you know, well, for example, in energetic sphere, there is less oil and gas, but more green energy. There is more e-commerce, but less on-site shopping. And actually, there are more video games, and sports completely stopped. I mean, with the spectators. So, and there are other hundreds of examples. So, have you ever thought about this thing?
Yes, and actually there are lots of data and different statistics that you can read online related to industries that are rising, and some of them are, of course, e-commerce, and those that are going down. So, for example, airlines or hospitality, restaurants. So you can actually see, and you know, if you can cover more than just one of those industries, then you can always you know, find lots of work. Actually, what we see during COVID, that there's even more content being created, and content has to be created almost like non-stop and on the fly. I mentioned that I work with asset management firms and banks. They have to over-communicate, because on one side they need to reassure their clients that, you know, their investments are fine even if the market is going down. Also, the situation is changing so dynamically that it's like we're used to call market either bull market or bear market, but now, you know, there's a new term, kangaroo market, because it just changes all the time. And then Trump tweets something in the States, something happened in China, and the poor marketing manager in Europe, I mean, is constantly just checking and then translating that into all the languages. So those people actually extended their hours, and they need more content to be translated, adapted, which has to be, of course, secure and compliant and million things. So I think that the best business to be in is regulated translation, because, you know, companies can go bankrupt. They still will need your translation. I used to work for a company, and probably you've heard that, for a company that was actually, we had the best sales in during the crisis, and now this marketing agency, best month ever during the crisis. But this is the regulated. Unfortunately, we know that hospitality is going down, and many things happen, but even those people need to communicate about that. So I would say there are always opportunities.
Thank you.
We have one more question
from Veronica.
Veronica.
Hello.
Hey, Veronica.
So the question is, as a interpreter who's just about to begin his or her career, what are your tips to this kind of specialist to be competitive in the market? Okay. Apart from like professional skills and quality of his or her translation.
Okay, so definitely, judging from my little, I would say, review of LinkedIn, create your LinkedIn profile. Already you are getting, you know, more visibility. Add everyone you know and all the prospects and clients. Build your profile basically. That's one of the things. Also, you are not bound by your location anymore, and this is great. Before, all the interpreters had to travel to join different conferences, or maybe they would not be able to even go somewhere. Now you can join any conference around the world, even in different time zones. So there's just so many opportunities if you go out of your location right now. And I would really recommend that. It's like I was born as, you know, Tanya is always laughing at me. I was born in a communist country. I got my passport at the age of 15, and it's pretty amazing that I can travel. But for you know, younger generation, Veronica, this is a given, and you don't even have to travel. You can be everywhere in the world online. So I would just say make sure that you have a strong profile, on LinkedIn or any other associations, and then you just don't limit yourself to one place, but you look for opportunities everywhere in the world, and by joining online.
Okay, can I ask a question? So first of all, thank you so much. It was a great presentation that I enjoyed. And I'll definitely urge our marketing managers to rewatch it very attentively. But my question is as follows. You mentioned email marketing and catchy slogans and the right way of formulating them. I'd honestly say I myself am receiving tons of spam email and marketing email. And as soon as I see something, have you seen this, or you haven't seen this, you missed on that, or something like that, that you mentioned, I immediately remove it because I know it's a marketing email and I have a lot of real work email to address. So how would you recommend the modern email marketing teams to kind of restructure themselves to make sure that they have a higher opening rate? Especially among, say, the upper management or whoever are the decision makers.
I think there's a question of who are you sending those emails to? And if it's a mass mailing, then, and you don't spend any time segmenting your list, then you just send whatever you think is going to perform the best. And actually all the FOMO messages that you don't like, actually they work on many other people. But and then of course there is a risk of sending the same message to everyone. But if you segment it, then you are able, and I'm sure you've heard about those technologies. There are technologies that are able to say what your preference is, and but then you actually have to spend time working with, for example, Crystal Knows. Have you heard about it? I'm sure you did, right? It's a great application. It costs, I don't know, $5. It's nothing. You add it on LinkedIn, and that shows you, based on that person's digital footprint, if they like jokes, or maybe they like a more of a serious tone. When you speak with them, should you use an Excel file or rather, invite them for lunch? And this is what Crystal Knows is going to tell you. So if you want to really, send that email that is going to earn you $5 million, then you go to Crystal Knows. Otherwise, you just do whatever it's best. And I would say FOMO, greed, curiosity, straightforward. Those are the psychological principles that someone is always going to read it. Maybe not you, but someone else will. So that's always the risk.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina, for your presentation. It was really inspiring personally for me. I have a very particular and specific question about, you said it's better to put the most important information in the upper left corner of email. And I wonder if it works the same way with readers and Arabic speakers or Yiddish speakers who read in other way.
Very good. Of course, we have a cultural, and a linguist here. Yes, of course, you have to then put it in a way where they would look.
So it's connected with our perception of text.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
But of course, those are promotional emails, so you only have a second to grab their attention. If you lose it, then you lose it. If it's an email between people of course, you don't have to use the same principle.
Thank you.
One more question.
Thank you, Sabina, for this detailed presentation and for mentioning my LinkedIn.
Congratulations!
I even didn't know. I didn't realize that I have so many
followers.
Yeah, that I have a profile. Okay, but I'm actually working on it. So I'm working on social media. I'm trying to be active in social media. Okay, so my question is: do you have any top tips how to build your mailing list? How to build the database of potential leads which would be interested in your services?
Are you talking about, do you want to know more about different technologies or different types of process?
I mean that what types of what other ways to find new leads for your mailing list?
You mean the technologies, right? Different technologies.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me explain. So first of all, I would say it's looking into your buyer personas. So creating what I had there for who is your buyer and who is your potential buyer. First, many of us work with different buying centers. So, for example, you work with a legal department, an HR department, and whatever regulatory department or marketing department. Within those departments, there are buyers And some of them are your main buyers. So for example, in marketing, you would probably work with communications manager and not the person who's responsible for SEO, unless you do multilingual SEO. So then you really create all those profiles. And then you go on either LinkedIn, you can use Sales Navigator, for example, or you use Sales Nash, or any of those different technologies. There's ZoomInfo, there are a million others, and I can explain very briefly them in a second. And you select people based on that profile, and this is the list for buyers you have. Of course, there are different regulations, such as GDPR in the European Union, but actually in our industry, we operate on legitimate interest, which means it's B2B. So if you work already in pharma with, let's say, Pfizer, you can also contact Roche because they're exactly in the same industry. So GDPR helps you with that, and you have a legitimate interest to contact Roche. So I would say first select the type of a buyer you have, and then go and use a tool to find those leads. Now, in terms of tools, Sales Nash, super cheap. It costs around €1. But it's manually checked by those guys, I think they're based in Kiev or somewhere in Ukraine. Basically, you tell them, like, I'm interested in entertainment industry, so please find me leads. There are many other technologies that basically crawl the entire space, and you just say, I'm interested in all the marketing managers working for asset management, and they will create a list, and that goes from like $0.50 to $5. There's ZoomInfo, which is great technology, super expensive. But ZoomInfo is probably very often you've seen different emails coming to you, such as, thank you, Sabina, or Sabina, looking forward to see you next week. And I'm opening, clicking on it, and I don't know who that is. This is actually ZoomInfo for any of those technologies, trying to see if you exist, because they add you back to the database, and then they sell your SEO data. So there's just many technologies. If you give me your budget, I will tell you which one to choose. Hope that responded to your question.
And I have a follow-up about the all the managers helping in marketing. Like Sales Navigator, yes, you're creating lists, but then you need to write all of them personally on LinkedIn because GDPR restricts the using those lists for ads, for example, as you know.
No. It doesn't.
So you just can't export all these lists into your ads manager and use it for your ads, for promoted posts.
No, you can. Actually, GDPR doesn't block you from doing ads or sending emails to those people unless they tell you to stop. And that's why this is the legitimate interest. You send it until they tell you to stop, as opposed to consent, which says first they have to tell you yes, and then you send it. So don't use this one because you limit your list. But what maybe you mentioned the fact that you cannot grab the list from LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yes, but that's LinkedIn because they don't want because they want to hold that data
and use it on LinkedIn too.
Exactly. So, but I'm so disappointed in LinkedIn. I mean, of course, I know that nobody's here representing LinkedIn because great. No, because I spend so much money on ads and with little result. We are also using Sales Navigator, and we can see, for example, they promote it as you can filter, and then you can see at the top all the companies, all the people that were, for example, active in the last 30 days. You click on each of those people, and they were not active at all. So they really, the filtering is not great, and I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah, the same experience. Thank you.
Exactly. But GDPR is, if someone is interested in GDPR, I love GDPR. I know I love all the weird things like COVID and GDPR, but I love it. So if you have any questions, I will be happy to help you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have... Thanks.
So I thought of another question I would like to ask. How does it influence a business if they have clients who react to very personalized email marketing? I mean, react, they open, they read, they get involved in some content of this business, but they end up buying the product. Does it influence badly that business, or is it good just for enlarging the audience?
I mean, yes and no. So on one side, if they do it on social media and they view your content or they go to your website, of course, they increase your visibility, they increase your traffic. So it's all great. But if they, if for example, you have a limited number in your email marketing tool, and you know that if you go, let's say, above 10,000 contacts, you have to pay credits. So if you just look at people that most engage, and lots of them are basically not even relevant, or sometimes those are automated machines, because your email is already in the spam, the machine is just, showing that they're opening it, but it's not even a real person, then you spend money, you spend your credits for nothing. So I'm talking about different marketing automation tools that limit the credits to a certain number. So that's why it's always good to review that list all the time. But the good thing is, if someone unsubscribed, you can still call them.
No more questions? No more questions on YouTube or Facebook? No. So
Thank you.
Let's give one more round of applause to fabulous Sabina.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.